What scares people the most isn't the man who explodes in rage, nor the one who fills the room with speeches of power. What truly terrifies is the man who stays silent. He gives no signals, no justifications, no tells, and it's within that emptiness that others begin to feel exposed. Silence becomes an invisible shadow that dominates without ever needing to touch. Maybe you've felt the pain of saying too much, explaining, justifying, trying to convince, only to walk away, diminished. But here's the unexpected truth. The solution was never about saying the right words. The key is simply to say nothing. Try it next time someone tries to provoke you. Instead of defending yourself, take a breath and remain silent. The discomfort won't be yours, it will be theirs. This is the paradox no one talks about. While the world believes power comes from volume, true mastery is born in the absence of it. Silence dismantles masks, creates mystery, and forces others to reveal who they truly are. It's a force few can wield, and for that reason, it's feared. In the next few minutes, you'll discover something no one ever taught you. Silence is not just an escape, it's a weapon. And when used correctly, it doesn't just protect, it gives you an advantage that can entirely shift the way the world perceives you. Every day, millions live like actors on an invisible stage, trying to prove they're valuable. They post photos not to capture memories, but to be applauded. They make choices not based on what they believe, but on what will be accepted. He realized early on that this game never ends. The more you play, the more addicted you become. It's like a casino where no one wins, just slowly burns out. That's why he stepped off the stage and chose to sit in the audience, where the view is clear and the illusions lose their grip. Nietzsche once said that the individual must fight not to be swallowed by the tribe. This fight is not physical. It's silent, psychological. The man who leaves the stage understands that the approval of the crowd is volatile, and living for applause is becoming a slave to the audience. When you free yourself from that need, something shifts. Your words carry more weight. Your movements become deliberate. Your presence magnetic. Respect doesn't come from what you display. It comes from what you no longer need to show. Think of those who always feel the need to explain everything. The more they try to justify themselves, the less authority they seem to have. The wise understand, silence isn't the absence of words, it's the absence of need. If someone accuses him, he doesn't waste energy proving otherwise. If someone mocks him, he doesn't rush to defend. He knows his dignity doesn't depend on anyone's judgment, and that kind of posture creates an invisible force, hard to challenge, harder to forget. While others chase likes, he seeks clarity. While they run after approval, he becomes increasingly inaccessible, and that makes him irresistible. The audience starts to wonder, why doesn't he need our validation? That question plants the seed of respect because it awakens a mystery that noise can never reach, but that's only the first step. Because when you abandon the validation game, a new challenge begins, learning to see beyond the surface where words are no longer enough. There comes a point when words become too small for what you truly see. When someone sees beyond the surface, they realize most arguments are just echoes, from minds stuck in the same loop. He discovered this early. The more you understand the world, the less you feel like explaining it. Silence, then, is not emptiness. It's a higher language, one that no longer needs arguments because it already sees the essence. Carl Jung once said, "He who looks outside dreams. He who looks inside awakens." And when someone awakens, words no longer carry the same weight. He lived it, in arguments that felt important, but soon revealed themselves as empty. Shouting didn't change anyone. Repeating truths to closed ears was just wasting life. So instead of insisting on speaking, he began to observe. And in that simple act, he found more power than in 1,000 speeches. This silence doesn't mean weakness. It means the mind has walked through so many labyrinths that it recognizes when there's no exit. It's like someone who's read the end of the book. There's no need to argue anymore because he already knows how it ends. That's what makes it intimidating. His silence becomes a presence that reveals more than any explanation. He doesn't need to justify himself, and precisely because of that, he becomes almost untouchable. While most still believe speech is the only path to claiming power, he proves the opposite. His absence of words is an answer that can't be challenged. It's the weight of the unspoken that thickens the air, leaving everyone wondering what's really going through his mind. But that's just the second layer, because the true impact of silence is not just seeing too much. It's not reacting when everyone expects you to. When someone expects your reaction, and you give none, the game changes. Most people live like matches. One strike, and they're in flames, burning everything around them, including themselves. But a mind that doesn't react, that observes before it acts, it's like water. Nothing ignites it, nothing controls it. That kind of self-control creates an invisible power, one that intimidates far more than any scream. Because the one who masters his own anger masters the entire situation. He learned that reacting immediately is the same as handing over your power. Every provocation answered in the heat of the moment is a gift wrapped and handed to the enemy. But silence, paired with a firm gaze, disarms even the most aggressive opponent. It's in the space between stimulus and response that true authority is born, and often it's in that exact space where the other person reveals their weakness, incapable of keeping up the mask when there's no opposition. It's strange how this principle applies to everything. In a business meeting, when someone tries to provoke, the strongest man isn't the one who responds quickly. It's the one who watches in silence, forcing the other to reveal more than they should. In a personal conflict, the one who controls the tone controls the narrative. The absence of reaction turns your opponent into someone desperate for validation, while you remain cold, and that coldness breaks them from within. While others drown in their own rage, he takes a deep breath and stays still. This image alone is powerful, because it proves the real battle isn't out there. It's inside. The one who wins that internal war becomes unpredictable, and the unpredictable is always feared. But there's something even deeper. Silence isn't just control. Sometimes it's construction, because when he goes quiet, it's not emptiness. It's preparation for something greater. There's a common mistake, confusing silence with passivity. Many look at the man who doesn't speak and think he's lost, stagnant, directionless. What they don't see is that silence, when it's a choice, is never empty. It's a workshop. Behind the scenes of his own mind he's building. While others chase noise and distraction, he's drafting blueprints, he's organizing, he's strengthening foundations. That's why, when he finally speaks or moves, the impact is disproportionate. It's like an architect who draws in secret for months. From the outside, he seems idle. But on the inside, he's creating structures meant to last decades. Noise seeks immediate applause. Silence seeks depth. Those who live for noise settle for cheap claps. Those who live in silence and build empires. And that's the difference between the average and the extraordinary. One shows off, the other prepares. He knows that every minute spent in silence is a brick laid. Every word left unsaid is energy saved for the right moment. Like a fighter training far from the spotlight, his silence is discipline, and disciplined silence is invisible, until it becomes undeniable. That's when people start to realize it wasn't absence. It was accumulation, it wasn't weakness, it was preparation. Silence always demands a price, and he pays it with patience. Those who don't understand think silence is defeat. But when they finally see the result, they understand. It was only the prelude to something bigger. That's when the world realizes he wasn't paused. He was under construction. And that kind of construction doesn't seek attention. It seeks permanence. But to build something real, first you must be whole within yourself, and that's where the difference between loneliness and solitude is born. Most people confuse loneliness with solitude. Loneliness is when someone is missing. Solitude is when nothing is missing, because your own presence is enough. He learned early that those who can't handle being alone will never truly meet themselves. The noise of others can distract you, but it can't fill you. Solitude's silence, on the other hand, is not emptiness, it's wholeness. That's where a man discovers that he doesn't need an audience to exist. Marcus Aurelius said the best retreat is within the soul. That teaching is more relevant now than ever. When you learn to retreat into yourself, you realize peace doesn't depend on the outside world. Schopenhauer also reminded us, a man can only be himself when he's alone. That's not isolation, it's liberation. It's not about rejecting others. It's about no longer depending on them to feel worthy. And that independence changes everything about how people see you. In a world where everyone rushes to prove connection, the man who chooses solitude becomes strange. How can he be fine with no one around? That's the question people start asking. And that question creates respect, because being whole alone is a rare strength. Few can do it. And those who can inevitably become more magnetic, more grounded, more mysterious. It's the paradox: the less you need, the more you attract. He discovered that solitude didn't take him away from life. It brought him closer to it. Without the constant noise, the details become clearer. The conversations more selective. The decisions more intentional. Once you experience this state, you never go back. But that shift leads to an unexpected effect. When you stop reacting, when you choose silence, something starts to happen. Not inside you, but in others. There's something deeply uncomfortable about facing someone who doesn't react. Silence becomes a mirror, one where masks begin to fall off. When someone provokes and gets no resistance, all that's left is their own reflection. And that's not always pretty. That's why so many feel disturbed by the absence of a response. Silence doesn't confront with words. It exposes with clarity. And in that reflection, people reveal more than they ever meant to. He noticed this in simple moments. One time, in the middle of an argument, he chose not to respond. The other person, expecting a reaction, kept talking until they contradicted themselves. In that case, silence acted like light, exposing cracks in the wall. The man who no longer needs to win is already winning. Because while noise spends energy maintaining a lie, silence slowly dismantles the opponent's defenses. This dynamic can be seen anywhere: at work, in families, in relationships. The one who knows how to wield silence can turn even the harshest criticism into an empty monologue. And in the end, others end up revealing themselves without realizing it. It's like watching a play where the actor forgets his lines. The discomfort isn't yours, but theirs. Silence dismantles the act, because it removes the fuel that keeps the theater alive. Over time, he realized this was one of the most powerful weapons. Not reacting isn't weakness. It's strategy. A strategy that forces the other person to show their true face. It's the mirror nobody asks for, but everyone fears. And the more you master this art, the clearer it becomes. Not everyone can handle silence, because it doesn't just expose, it filters. And that filter leads to the next unavoidable point: the cost and the privilege of being inaccessible. Not everyone will understand your silence. To some, it will feel like coldness, to others like arrogance. But to the few who see beyond the surface, it will be recognized for what it is: strength. Being inaccessible comes with a price. You lose easy approval, shallow invitations, and superficial connections. But along with that cost comes a greater privilege: the freedom not to mold yourself to other people's expectations, and to attract only what's essential. In the beginning, it may feel lonely. Many will pull away when they realize they can't control you. They want closeness with those who reply fast, who bend easily, who explain themselves constantly. But when they meet someone who doesn't need any of that, they grow uncomfortable, and they leave. But that distance isn't loss, it's a filter. Silence doesn't reject, it selects. And what remains after that selection is pure, rare, and real. He realized that being inaccessible wasn't about closing himself off from the world. It was about creating space for what truly matters. Like a fortress, the gates aren't locked. They just don't open for just anyone. That bothers those who want access without merit. But it strengthens those willing to stay. And that's the essence of privilege. Not being surrounded by many, but by the few who actually matter. Silence pushes away the shallow and draws in the essential. That posture creates an almost impenetrable aura. He isn't seen as someone who hides, but as someone who chooses. And the man who chooses what to let in displays true power. Because in the end, silence isn't just the absence of sound. It's proof that he built something so solid within himself it cannot be invaded. But this entire journey points to something even greater. Silence isn't just a social tactic. It's the reflection of an inner power that doesn't negotiate. By now, you've seen the pattern. It's not noise that earns respect, and it's silence that imposes it. The man who learns to be silent by choice isn't running away. He's commanding. And that's the key few ever dare to use, to turn silence into a weapon, a filter, and a shield. Now, the real question is, will you keep reacting like everyone else? Or will you start to dominate through what you don't say? Stop and think. In what area of your life could silence become your greatest advantage? At work, when they try to test you? In relationships, when they try to throw you off balance? Or deep inside yourself, when your mind begs you to explode? The answer lies in how you choose to carry yourself from this point forward. The silence you practice today defines the strength you'll carry tomorrow. This isn't about winning arguments, it's about winning yourself. And that victory, no one can take from you. So now, a simple yet provocative question remains. Are you ready to carry the weight of being inaccessible? If you want to keep learning how to turn invisible weaknesses into silent power, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. This is only the beginning. The next step is closer than you think, and it may just change how you see the game entirely.